Super nervous, obviously, knowing that I've got a good chance. Even more. It's only like 30 seconds on the trampoline, you know, it's not a long time. I think whatever happens, I'll just look back on these times and know that I've put in everything I have to get there. So that's what's satisfying for me is just knowing that I'm going to get to the games and just be able to smile before I compete, knowing that there's nothing I could have done to prepare myself any better. It's probably less than 30 seconds, to be honest, but we round up, so. I'm Dylan Schmidt, getting ready for my second Olympics. It's been a long time coming. I was 19 when I went to Rio, so I'm 24 now, so it honestly feels like, you know, a lifetime ago.
Representing New Zealand, Dylan Schmidt.
New Zealand's first trampoline gymnast has made the final.
I mean, that was the goal, was to make the final, and it was, you know, something that I knew I was able to achieve.
Here he goes.
But when I did it, it was, you know, I was super excited, obviously.
A bit of trouble there. He's got himself out of it, though. Well done.
Making a final in Olympic Games at your first Olympics is an amazing experience.
Very impressive the way he's been able to keep this routine going. Big jump required. Stay there.
I was super happy with my performance, but I was also pretty disappointed as well. Like I knew I didn't do as well as I could have, but I was, you know, injuries and stuff like that was sort of all in the background, but my performance still wasn't, you know, up to my high standard.
Pulled it back admirably.
I bulged a disc and I just had a bit of nerve pain. And yeah, pretty much 5 days before I was due to try and qualify at the test event in Rio, I was struggling to walk and it was pretty rough. I was in a pretty rough headspace. I was so ready to compete, but my body just wasn't going to let me. But then luckily, you know, I had great physio, great team, and we managed to work our way to a jumping state and I competed and I qualified, so it was a pretty special moment. But yeah, it was a tough sort of qualification period, and then that sort of was lingering at the games as well. When you look back at it, it makes the experience a bit more special because it wasn't easy. And you know, when things aren't easy, it's satisfying when you come out the other side and you've done it.
That's it.
To be the first person to do something is pretty special, and I feel very honoured to be that person.
While they're doing the routine.
So I was born in Australia, actually, on the Gold Coast. When I was 6 months old, we moved to Te Anau, down in the bottom of the South Island. But I really identify with growing up in Waihi. We started trampolining in Te Anau, and once we moved up to Waihi, there was no club really nearby, so there was a club in Auckland, and basically my brother had made the world's team, and my sister was doing the sport as well, and obviously I was doing it, so yeah, trampolining was just part of the family, it was part of our lives.
Dylan and Rachel and Callum used to travel so far, but when they got there, they were always the hardest working athletes. And some of that, I think, was because you're not going to sit in the car for all of that time if you're not actually going to do the work when you get there.
Yeah, it was a lot of driving that my mum had to do, but I think she's pretty stoked to where it's gone.
Dylan used to come and with his sister, they'd stay at our place a night or two a week, stay in the bunks with my daughter and share the room with the kids just so that they could get a training in that night and in the morning before they went back to Waihi to go to school all day and repeat it all over again.
I think I was 12 or 13, I got a scholarship to go to King's College, so I started boarding up here, and that made training a lot easier. So that's sort of when I kind of kicked off and started taking the sport a lot more seriously, and around that time was when the Olympic dream was born.
Last year I travelled to Russia for my first World Championships for trampolining, and I got a gold medal, which means I'm now the current under-13 world champion. My dream was to represent New Zealand at the 2016 Olympics and be the first Kiwi to win gold for trampolining.
I remember quite vividly having the thought in my mind that, yep, that's what I want to do, and yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote.
Fantastic.
We started our club, Extreme Trampoline, with the goal of creating New Zealand's first Olympic trampolinist. That was absolutely why we did it. To watch Dylan go through his journey of, you know, world age group champion, youth Olympic champion, and then sort of ticking off all of the things that we knew were part of the pathway to get there. And pretty much without too many backward steps, you know, he just kept on doing what he needed to do. And so to see him qualify for Rio was definitely a dream come true for all of us.
After Rio, I sort of, my body was in pretty good way, and I ended up having a pretty good run in 2017, and I had some personal bests, and yeah, to top it off with the silver medal at the biggest field in the World Cup history, so like the hardest field in World Cup history, was pretty special. Oh, honestly, I was just super relieved, because when I was competing in the finals, my legs actually collapsed in my jumps. And I got a time penalty because I didn't start my routine within the allotted time, so I got a 0.4 time penalty, and my legs were just dead. They were just jelly, and I just had to jump, and I finished the routine, and I stopped. You know, I knew it was all right, but then when the score came up, I was pretty happy. If I didn't get the time penalty, I would have won by like 0.1. It was obviously, you know, one of my most special moments in my career.
It was great, and that was just, again, part of the expectation, I think, which is probably why the injury hit him quite hard, because he was like, well, everything's going to plan, and every time I compete, I'm getting better, and now all of a sudden, how do you deal with this?
Yeah, 22nd of February was, yeah, when it all sort of just went kaput. Yeah, I was just on this tramp, and yeah, just had a bit of an accident. Just, yeah, bit of a freak accident, really. So I actually finished training and then decided, you know, I was feeling really good, so I'm going to have an extra turn. And yeah, basically Murphy's Law, just that one turn, just everything changed. Sort of just twisted and popped my knee. The MRI showed some pretty decent damage, so unfortunately it was a pretty tough conversation to have after that scan.
He phoned me on the day that he had the injury, and I wasn't coaching him at the time, and he just told me, and I said, you're going to be okay. I know that you're going to be okay. So yes, you've injured yourself, and yes, it's a long recovery, but if anybody's going to do that recovery really well and learn a lot from it and get better because of it and stronger, it's you.
It was really, really gutting. It was a tough year. There was a lot of little things that I had to do to rehab. You know, that rehab was grueling, it was painful, it was frustrating, but it's definitely made me a stronger athlete, and I'm definitely a better athlete now coming through that experience. So it was definitely a blessing. I would not change it for the world. You can look back and you realise that it happened for a reason.
I think probably for a moment he thought, shall I feel sorry for myself? And then went, what's that going to achieve? He did it really well, and he did his rehab to the letter. So he's stronger because of it.
He's just so straightforward. He knows what he wants, and he'll do everything to get there. You know, we all want to be like that, but you know, we all have cheat days. Dylan doesn't really have cheat days. I have to tell him to relax because he won't relax. I'm like, don't do anything this weekend. We're going to relax, and he just doesn't know how to relax. He's just so, he has to be doing something every time, whether it's for tramp or, you know, doing something else like hunting.
Before my injury really just not stopped, but I didn't do that stuff as much as I should have. And I was just training, which is fine, but I sort of got to a point where I sort of lost a bit of identity in who I was as a person. And you know, coming through COVID and my injury and stuff, I've sort of realised that, you know, I need to keep that identity, and I need to do the things that I love, and hunting and stuff is one of those things. So you know, when I get out there and I'm out there doing it, and I've had a big walk, you know, a big pack mission, and I come home and I feel almost refreshed and energised. You know, that mental sort of side of it that I think really developed through that time. So, and I'm definitely going to need that for this games. It's going to be pretty different. It's going to be pretty tough. It's not going to be fun. It's just going to be a mission. It's going to be a competition, and yeah, I definitely think it'll serve me well for it.
I think he'll do probably better than last time. I mean, obviously I see him train every day, so I get to see the good and the bad. But he could be one of the top 5, you know, top 3 even. He's training up a storm.
We know he's capable of medalling, so he's ranked 4th, and then, you know, next Olympics he'll be even better.
We've been working on some stuff, but we'll have a pretty set plan going into the games. But I'm pretty excited for post-games to get working on some cool stuff in 2024. I think doing some pretty cool stuff that the world hasn't really seen before. So it's going to be a short campaign for sure. Like 3 years is just going to fly by, and you know, I'll be 27 then. So hopefully go for one more after that. But for this games, we've got a pretty good plan, and we think we're going to you know, do well. So.